Good morning again. Here's just a very, very quick, I suppose almost like a question, asking people's opinion on this. I'm really struggling to figure out the photos, lack of photos should I say, the bones, where they were found, how they were found, what was done to them, because there's a big gap. By the way, I saw a video by Thomas Hentz where he deals with the discovery of the bones and the testimony during Brendan Dass's trial. Thank you, Thomas. It was very well put together. And can I just say I look forward to welcoming you at some point from the dark side over to our side, because you'll be an invaluable asset in that regard. But my point would be this, that we know that according to testimony, bones were first discovered around about 1:30 in the afternoon, 1:30 by I think it's Trooper Jason Jost and Tom Sturdivant. And then about 3 o'clock, John Ertl and his crew get called over. John Ertl and his crew, the photographer Zhang Wang, didn't take any photos because they said that, well, we don't take photos when the scene has been altered with. But we have no testimony of anybody saying that yes, from 1:30 to 3 o'clock that they rearranged the bones. So my point would be this: is it possible that when John Ertl went along, looked at the bones in this pile, realised that this isn't how a scene normally looks, and just assumed that somebody has been there already and started to process the scene? Because if you came along and you just saw a load of bones and realised, well, that doesn't make sense, that's clearly been altered. You know, the bones should have been where they were lying. That's one of the things that's missing on that one of the photographs of the you know, the sort of animated photograph, where every item is listed as to what they found in the burn pit, but there's one item missing: any mention of Teresa's bones and how they lay. So I'm just going to throw that out there to everybody. Is that a possibility? Does anybody think that could be an explanation of the case, that John Ertl and his team arrived and just saw the pile of bones rearranged and knew, well, that's certainly not a crime scene, that's bones being altered, but maybe that's simply because that's how they were tipped in place, spread about a bit, and then the perpetrator cleared off as quick as he could. I don't know. As I say, there's this huge gap of at least an hour and a half to 2 hours that we know nothing about. That we can't find any testimony about what happened during those that time that Ertl was busy doing something else. I can't remember quite what it was, but yes, when they asked him to come along, they asked him to come along with his sifting equipment. They didn't ask him to come along and start to process the scene. So I'm just wondering if that's because they knew that the bones had been altered, so they had to say, well, you know, we've already started to process the scene, when in fact they hadn't at all. Anyway, I'm at a loss to figure out what's going on there, other than the fact that there is clearly a huge cover-up. And as Jerry Butin pointed out in that Reason TV interview that he did, if the jury had accepted the fact and realised how important it was that the bones had been moved, then clearly, you know, it's obvious the planting of the bones to make it look as if it was Stephen that burnt them in his backyard, when in fact the more likely case is that the body was burnt up on Zander Road, and you have to wonder about who knew about Steve potentially buying that property. You know, that's very, very poignant for me as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, great news that Making a Murderer #2 is coming out. What we really want to know, though, is when are the Control Question T-shirts going to be coming out, dude? And we're certainly looking forward to making a murderer number 2. For me, going right into the details about the control question. I hope we hear a lot about that, and I think it's going to be quite shocking to the general public when they find out about certain details about what was on the computer. I think that's going to be a, you know, it's going to come as a shock. Let's put it that way. Well, let's hope people find it particularly disturbing. I'm sure they will. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Catch you again soon. Bye for now.